Assalamu alaikum students. How have you been? Hope you all are pretty good. So in the last session we had discussed about rivers of Andhra Pradesh. In this session we are going to discuss about floodplains and floods. As you know that all the rivers does not flow all over the year. Some dries up and some flows all over the year. You can see that on the screen. The river trough is very wide and it has high banks. This valley of water is filled with sand and gravel. Gravel means small stones. The main stream is flowing, as you can see on the first picture. When it rains heavily, all the valleys will be filled with water. You can observe that there are no trees, plants, nothing on the riverbed. This treeless riverbed is called floodplain of the river. All the rivers have their own floodplains. You may have heard that every year many parts of the country are flooded due to excess amount of rainfall. And you may have also heard that floods occurring mostly in coastal areas of our Andhra Pradesh, and the areas which are nearer to the sea coast are affected more. Coastal areas means the areas which are nearer to the sea coast. Now let's see some ways to prevent floods. Vegetation covers on the land like trees, plants, grass, etc. stops the runoff of rainwater and slow down the speed of its flow. This slowing down helps the rainwater to percolate into the soil. Floods are often caused by sudden increase in the volume of water reaching a river. And vegetation also allows the water to flow slowly into the river, thus preventing sudden floods. It also helps to increase the amount of water which goes into the soil. Vegetation also helps to prevent floods in another way. It reduces the erosion of soil by rainwater. Soil erosion means separation of soil, a gap on the land, as you can see the first picture on the screen. This soil erosion is caused by either droughts or rainwater. If there is little or no vegetation, rainwater cuts and carries with it a lot of topsoil. That means the soil carried by the rainwater and moves into the river. This soil reduces the depth of the river. It reduces the capacity of the river. Okay, if the depth of the river is decreased, then what will happen? Yes, even with a little rain also the river are flooded and they overflow their banks, causing damage. If the surface of the land is covered with vegetation, then soil erosion is gently reduced. The roots and soil will absorb the water. Okay? Let us take the case of Ganga. Earlier, there were dense forests on the Himalayas, from where the Ganga and its tributaries originate. In the recent years, there has been a large scale felling of trees, and hence the forest cover in the Himalayas has been reduced. As a result, whenever there is a heavy rainfall, the rainwater rapidly flows down the slopes of the mountain and fills up the floodplain of the river. The water also brings a very large quantity of silt and deposit it on the riverbed. This results in frequent floods, which causes heavy damage to life and properties along the river. So, all these tells us the importance of protecting our forest and increasing the vegetative cover over the lands. Facing the challenge in cyclones and floods. As you know that our state has a long coastline and it is frequently faced with very destructive cyclones. When heavy winds blow from the sea, heavy rains lash the lands and high waves make the sea very unsafe. This usually occurs between June and December. The worst cyclones hits the state in November in 1977. The worst cyclone hit the Indian shores. You know, students, 6 meters high tidal waves swept across villages in coastal Andhra Pradesh, killing 9,941 people. At least 100 villages were washed away by the cyclonic storm. The cyclone is seemed like a sheet of water drawn over the affected area, floating in the swirling water. Swirling means revolving, spin. Okay. About 100 people who left their homes to seek shelter in a building in Bopatla died when the building collapsed. Most lives were lost in Divisima, Krishna district. Recently, in 2014, Hudud cyclone created a huge destruction in Vishakhapatnam. Destruction means damage. Because of these cyclones, the flood water recede very fast. All the sources of water are polluted and become unsafe for drinking. But especially the poor. The poor peoples are forced to use the polluted water and face the risk of several diseases like cholera, dysentery, jaundice, etc. Only for those resources are able to arrange for safe bottled water to drink since roads are damaged and it rains very heavily. Bringing in relief to worst affected areas is not easy. Here, people are forced to rely on their own resources to save themselves. While the immediate damage of the cyclones is also heavy, like loss of lives, crops, houses, etc. More importantly, they also cause long term damages. For example, the life saving of most of the poor stored in the houses in the form of food, tools, cattle, small shops, vehicles, boats, nets, many are there, are destroyed. To go back to their work, they need to buy all these things. Many families may lose their working members. Daily wages workers face loss of work for several weeks. And the farmers also face lot of damage of crops but also permanent damage to their lands. Apart from these, our government are also should be responsible for providing for long-term security of all peoples by building them strong roads which have not easily destroyed, safe pakka houses for those living in vulnerable areas. Vulnerable means unsafe areas. Okay, like sea coast or along the river or in lowlands. So The government should provide all these facilities for them. Food, water, and medical emergency term should be kept ready whenever there is a forecast of cyclones. So these are some measures to take during floods and disasters. It is there in your textbook. Read it once, then you will understand. And these are some measures that should take during floods. Okay students, it is there in your textbook. Read it once, then you will understand the concept. With this, our lesson is completed. If you have any doubts, please ask me in the live session. I will be there for you for clarifying your doubts. Allah Hafiz students.